Coming up on Naperville News 17, a referendum on pot sales will be on the March ballot. Naper settlement plans for 2 new additions. And a beloved Blackhawk shares how he beat the odds. Hello everyone, I'm Kim Pierce. Thanks for joining us for this week's Naperville News. Naperville City Council voted to opt out of adult use cannabis sales in September, but some council members said they'd like to revisit the issue after a citywide referendum. Naperville News 17's Casey Krajewski tells us when that will be.
Naperville voters will weigh in on whether recreational adult use cannabis should be sold in Naperville in the March 17th general primary election. Naperville City Council and several members of the public discussed the referendum at the most recent meeting. The majority of public speakers who said they will vote to opt out of sales favored the November 3rd, 2020 election, and those opting in preferred the March date.
Those votes will be disproportionately bent toward one voting party, the one party that has a president on that ballot. And we can say, yes, it is not, and I agree, it is not an entirely partisan issue. There are clearly Republicans and Democrats that feel differently about this issue. There is a partisan flavor to this, and to deny that, I think, would be disingenuous.
Others on the dais said nothing is stopping Republicans from going to the polls in March, and this referendum could actually serve as a reason for them to show up.
No one's pinning you down telling you can't vote. It's a choice. If you don't want to go to the polls, that's a choice that you get to make. So if you are energized by a particular position, a particular candidate, and you'll get out and you'll vote.
Council voted 5-4 to hold the referendum in March before discussing the specific wording of the question. City staff's proposal read, "Shall the City of Naperville, in light of state legislation legalizing the possession, consumption, and sale of recreational adult use cannabis, allow the sale of recreational adult use cannabis within its jurisdiction?" While some felt this was unnecessarily wordy, others felt the context of the state's legalization was important information.
I tend to agree that the language should be shorter, a little bit cleaner if we can, but I totally think that Councilman White is spot on when he says that you have to have context. All referendum questions start with the context. Otherwise, it's very confusing.
Though alternative wordings of the question were proposed, the dais decided to trust the city's legal team's version by a vote of 7-2. The referendum will be non-binding, though multiple members of council have previously stated they will support the will of the majority. For Naperville News 17, I'm Casey Krajewski.
Regardless of whether recreational marijuana can be sold in Naperville, the use and possession of the drug will be legal for those over 21 on January 1st. The Naperville Area Humane Society is one step closer to beginning construction on its expansion. The Planning and Zoning Commission approved variances to reduce the required building and parking setbacks on the property. This will allow the Humane Society to push their current building out to build a 4,600 square foot addition that will include a lobby, more kennel space, and a community room. It will all come at a cost of $1.5 million. The Commission's vote now goes to City Council for final approval. Naperville's Maison Sabica has been named one of the best date restaurants in the country by Open Table. The online restaurant reservation company included the Spanish tapas restaurant in their first ever 50 Best Restaurants for a Date in America list. It was one of only 6 in Illinois to make the list, highlighting spots with a perfect ambiance, menu, and mood to fit the bill for a romantic night out. The list was compiled using dinner reviews from Open Table diners made from September 1st, 2018 through August 31st, 2019. You can check out the full list on Open Table's website. October is Dyslexia Awareness Month. To help spread awareness, 2 nonprofits teamed up to simulate what people with a learning disability go through. Naperville News 17's Christian Kenazal has the story.
Around 70 community members attended the dyslexia simulation event, which was hosted by Action Group of Naperville and Everyone Reading Illinois at the 95th Street Library. They participated in 10 to 15-minute activities that simulated what people who have dyslexia deal with in their everyday life.
Each station has some type of purposeful limitation. So maybe there's a code you have to decode, or maybe you have to write something with your non-dominant hand while looking in a mirror to simulate what it would be like to have something called dysgraphia.
They also participated in math, reading, and writing simulations. The 7 stations were run by ERI members who purposefully made the activities more stressful.
Some people want to quit doing it because the task becomes very difficult and very hard, and they feel very frustrated. And these individuals who are going through the simulation only have to do it for between 10 and 15 minutes. Can you imagine a student who has to do it all day in 5 hours in a school situation?
The event wrapped up with community members expressing what they felt during the simulation and a Q&A. For Naperville News 17, I'm Christian Canizel.
On October 23rd and 24th, the Dynamics of Dyslexia 2019 Fall Conference will take place at NIU's Conference Center in Naperville. After the break, there's no cost to kindness, a message Illinois credit unions help spread.
Welcome back to the game show, Who Is It? Today our contestant Sally is in the process of figuring out which one of our panelists is the real Crime Stopper. Sally, you have one more question for each panelist, then you will need to decide.
Number 1, when I call Crime Stoppers with a tip, do I need to leave my name?
Absolutely not. You remain anonymous.
Number 2, if my tip leads to an arrest, what's in it for me?
A cash reward for up to $1,000 for one thing.
And number 3, what is the Crime Stoppers tip line?
630-420-6006.
So who is it? Oh, sorry, time's up. Sally, we need your decision. Who's the real Crime Stopper?
They all are.
You're right, but how did you know?
'Cause I'm a Crime Stopper too.
Naperville Settlement has plans to bring 2 buildings to its property to make it a more modern museum. Our own Casey Krajewski has more.
For years, visitors to Naperville Settlement have entered the museum through the historic Preemption House. But that could soon change. The settlement plans to bring 2 new buildings to the campus, including the Innovation Gateway.
The Innovation Gateway will provide a larger, more wide-open exhibit space. And one thing we're concentrating on is telling the national story and bringing in more local. I think it allows people to tie into that whole story a lot better.
The Gateway will include modern museum amenities, like a digital wall visitors can interact with.
Just tap or swipe on the digital wall and Naperville's history comes alive before your very eyes.
And the ability for residents to incorporate their own stories into the settlement.
All those things that might be in your attic or in your basements that you really want to keep, but at the same time you want them to be able to be accessible to you forever. We help you make sure that that story has infrastructure, that it is essentially the way that a museum would have kept it.
And while the Innovation Gateway will be the first thing visitors see, a space at the back of the property will house the Agricultural Center, a celebration of Naperville's farming community heritage, coupled with a modern STEM laboratory. Both buildings are part of a campaign 5 years in the making. But after Naperville City Council voted unanimously to partially fund the $8.2 million project, they're a big step closer to turning Naperville Settlement into a modern museum.
Museums and the way people learn has changed a lot. So in order to create the relevance and stay current so we can actually provide and accomplish the mission that we want to do, we definitely are in need of updated buildings.
The settlement hopes to start construction by 2022. For Naperville News 17, I'm Casey Krajewski.
The city plans to provide funding through a SECA grant and to take on debt so as to not take away from other SECA projects. Nico Valley's mental health program is helping students open up through physical exercise. The Wildcats have teamed up with Shape America to bring Health Moves Minds to the high school, which is the first in the United States to use the program. It aims to help students deal with their mental and social health problems through PE and health classes.
We're trying to get students to talk, to self-advocate if they're feeling a certain way, or to advocate for one another if they see that a friend of theirs or a loved one is acting a certain way.
Parents also had the opportunity to learn more about the program. Neuqua Valley's mental health coordinator provided tips on how they can start a conversation to check in on their kids' mental health.
Do something that they kind of like, and then you can engage in that conversation. Like, hey, how was your day? Hey, how are things going? How are you feeling? More like open-ended questions if you can, because then that's how you're really going to get that conversation going.
During the week of October 21st through 25th, students will engage in daily challenges like kindness and advocacy days. And some local college students learn more about mental health resources available to them. The Mental Health Resource Fair brought together nearly 20 different health organizations from the area to College of DuPage.
Really anything that we do that's on a big scale like this raises awareness and also reduces stigma for mental health. And so a student who might have been struggling can see an event like this and say, it's okay for me to talk about this. And so whenever we have the chance to put something on the table regarding mental health, it kind of lets people know we're here to help and it's okay to have those conversations.
Students were able to talk with professionals, take a free and anonymous depression screening, and attend a panel discussion about mental health awareness. The panel included keynote speaker State Representative Deb Conroy of the 46th District. She spoke about her support for the recently signed Mental Health Early Action on Campus Act, which intends to address the gaps in mental health services across college campuses in Illinois. That act becomes effective in July of 2020. Credit unions across Illinois spent a day to spread kindness. Our own Christine Lena was with them for the campaign.
Columbus Day morning was like any other for Naperville Fire Station 4 until a special surprise came by.
So we're here to thank you for everything that you do for our community on a daily basis.
The DuPage Credit Union made a stop at the station, along with dozens of others in Naperville, Downers Grove, and Wheaton, for Credit Union Kind Day.
We were asked to come up with ideas on how we could, do some acts of kindness today. And we felt that, our police and fire are so important in the communities. So we have 12 team members today that are delivering baskets full of goodies and thank you cards to all of the police and fire stations in those cities and villages.
The DuPage Credit Union was one of 60 statewide that took part in the Illinois Credit Union League's inaugural CU Kind Day.
And really it's what credit unions do every day all around the state and all across the nation is give back to their community. So we've been here just a little while and we got people working away, but it's just fun that, first of all, it is a fun activity. And second of all, it's just as the shirt says, it feels good to do good.
Many local credit union employees joined Kane in volunteering at Feed My Starving Children.
It feels awesome. I actually brought my 5-year-old daughter with. This is a great family activity, ages 5 and up, to show her that we can make a difference in the lives of others, and we can do this. And this is food that's going to help somebody else, and it's not just here in our backyard, even though our credit union's based out of Naperville, but we provide service across the whole U.S., and this is providing service to those across the whole world.
A day packed full of service and kindness. Reporting for Naperville News 17, I'm Christine Lena.
And if you're looking for a do-good day, World Kindness Day is November 13th. Coming up, pumpkins turn teal to ensure everyone gets a treat.
Edward Elmhurst Health presents this Healthy Driven Minute.
It takes your body about a week to kind of adjust to the fall back this time of year. There's also something called seasonal affective disorder, where this time of year people's mood is not as good, and that's because there's an imbalance between serotonin and melatonin that can kind of affect your sleep. If you're not getting good restful sleep, it can contribute to things like weight gain because our cortisol levels spike at certain times, brain fogginess throughout the day, inability to focus, go to bed at the same time every night, do the same kind of sleep hygiene every night, doing yoga before you go to bed, taking a relaxing bath, reading for 30 minutes, wake up at the same time every morning. We have a tendency on the weekends to kind of want to sleep in, and we think that we're going to recover the sleep that we didn't get during the week, and it doesn't work that way. If you are laying in bed awake and you can't fall asleep, I typically say don't just continue to lay there. Get up, do something, get your body going, and then try to go ahead and lay back down.
For more information, visit eehealth.org.
Teaching online safety is an important part of a child's education. Kids Matter took that one step further in teaching children to be leaders in the digital world at their annual Digital Leader Summit.
We want to give students the tools that are necessary to be safe online, to create that positive digital footprint, because we know that technology will be an enhancer for where they go moving forward.
About 400 students from Districts 203 and 204 were hand-selected by teachers to participate in the two-day event. After introductions, the students split into small groups where they discuss things like how to have a positive online presence and digital security.
And then at the end of the day, what we ask of these leaders is they're going to come back together as a school group, so whoever they came with, and they're going to design a lesson, a method, a technique that they're going to use to share back that learning within their building.
It all ties into Kids Matter's mission to help children grow into successful adults.
It's so important that our youth understand all of the good things of the internet, but also to teach them some of the things that they need to know so it doesn't impact them when they go into their adult life.
Mayor Steve Chirico also addressed students at the event before declaring October as Cyber Awareness Month at the City Council meeting later that day. Teal pumpkins are popping up in the Brookdale neighborhood. Our own Christine Lena tells us more about them.
Halloween is usually all about the candy, but for some kids, it's not always a treat.
Children who have food allergies can't really enjoy Halloween because it's pretty dangerous. And for parents, it's really easier to keep them home than to take away a ton of candy. That's no fun either.
That led Banesh and her neighbor to find a way for her daughter, who has a severe food allergy, to participate in the holiday.
The food allergy awareness community began the Teal Pumpkin program that allows us to offer non-food treats to those children who have these food sensitivities or allergies, or just people who don't want a ton of candy, that are, little trinkets. So maybe fangs or witches' fingers or stickers or bouncy balls, whatever those non-food items are.
And now teal pumpkins are popping up all over the Brookdale neighborhood.
So that was 3 years ago, and we started with a few houses, and now we've grown our map to over 63 last year, and I think we're projected for about 75 people to participate this year.
Banesh's neighbor has even created a Google map that pinpoints all the homes participating. They share it with other community groups in the western suburbs so more kids can go trick-or-treating.
We had 5 families from outside of Naperville. 3 traveled from as far as Rockford because their kids have never been able to trick-or-treat.
Making it a treat for every child to have fun on Halloween. Reporting for Naperville News 17, I'm Christine Lena.
The Brookdale neighborhood will share their Teal Pumpkin House Google Maps on Facebook a few days before Halloween. And if you're looking for a traditional orange pumpkin, you may find your perfect pick somewhere unexpected. Naperville News 17's Aisha Ashley Hausa tells us where.
As Halloween draws near, it's time to be on the hunt for that perfect pumpkin. And to make your search a bit more wild, Cosley Zoo may be the spot for you. October is the time to celebrate fall, and Wheaton's Cosley Zoo is hosting their annual Pumpkin Fest all month long.
It's a lot of fun to see the kids get so excited with the variety and the sizes of pumpkins. Some of the cutest things is probably watching some of those little kids try and pick out their pumpkin, which is 3 times bigger than they are, it seems like, or feels like.
Picking out pumpkins is all about having fun, but it's also about finding the right one.
And getting a pumpkin's actually hard because there are multiple choices everywhere. You don't really know which one you'll pick.
Once you've picked one out, kids can hop on a ride while parents take a look at straw bales and corn stalks they may want to take home. And since the event is free with zoo admission, don't forget to carve out some time to say hello to your favorite animals before leaving. Reporting for Naperville News 17, I'm Aisha Ashley Hausa.
The Pumpkin Fest runs daily through Halloween. From the drums to the trumpets, marching bands are the loudest fans on Football Fridays. Our own Christian Kenizal is on the beat.
In the fall, the sounds of Fridays can be heard throughout the city. Touchdowns being scored, cheers from the rowdy crowds, and of course, music from the marching band. From the start to finish of a football game, you'll hear the band play their tunes. But the real show starts at halftime.
The marching band is comprised of your typical woodwind, brass, percussion, your color guard, and your drum majors. It's a little bit of time pulling the pieces together to coordinate all the different efforts. It's a fantastic process.
Leading the carefully choreographed routines are senior drum majors, who are in charge of over 100 different moving parts.
A big thing about being a drum major is you have to be very focused in onto the center snare and his feet, because the winds are listening to him because he's keeping time for us and then we're keeping time for them. It's a big triangle of music.
Prep work for the halftime shows start months earlier, and tons of hours are put in during the week of the game.
At game time, they have to get dressed in the uniform, and that's when they get really excited. When they show up to put uniforms on, there's an energy level that goes, way up at that point.
And it's just not instruments being played. Members from the color guard are also part of the performance. The marching band's mission is simple: to provide any support for the football team. So hopefully it'll be paid back.
We're all cheering for each other. I mean, it's such a community, and we're cheering them on, they're cheering us on. So it's just, whether they win or lose, it's just a win for us all at the end anyways.
No matter the final score, the band will always make sure the game ends on a high note. For Naperville News 17, I'm Christian Canizal.
As for the game, you can get a full recap of local high school football games every week on Naperville Sports Weekly. Up next, this 11-year-old's goal is in sight, already noted as an elite player.
Naperville resident Dallin McKinster is one of only 8 elite goalies in the state of Illinois. Let's get it. He plays for Chicago Young Americans, Team USA, and has filled in on teams in Michigan and Colorado. He's traveled to places like Kyrgyzstan, where he beat Team Russia in an overtime shootout.
Oh, he stoned them! He stoned them! Dallin McKinster, the star of the shootout, gets it with the glove and stones them and says no!
Oh, and he's only 11.
I'm gonna be in the NHL, really. That was probably my goal. Yeah.
With his sights set high, Dallin has dedicated his life to hockey. He's been skating since he was 3.
I always want to be a goalie. At the pro shops, I always put on the pads and stuff. And so I was just interested. I thought it was always a cool sport.
He attends Bridgedale Academy, an academic alternative for young hockey players located inside Seven Bridges Ice Arena.
And I'll get to school, do history class, then I'll go down to science class, and then math class, and then lunch, and then English, and then I get dressed for on ice for we're on the ice for an hour and a half to around there. And then we do off ice till 3:15, 3:30.
Once school's out, his parents drive him an hour to Palatine 3 days a week for Chicago Young Americans practice. It's part of the High Performance Hockey League.
Good shot.
They want to further their hockey careers, so they practice at a high level and they compete very hard every day.
That means 3 to 4 hours of practice both on,
you good, Maddie?
And off the ice.
All right, we're gonna go to push-ups, sit-ups, and burpees.
Dallin's goalie coach Anthony Bergeron says for his age, he's at a unique advantage.
Because the average 11-year-old is not probably even 5 foot yet. And Dallin's probably 5.5 feet, so he's a little bigger, he takes up more net, and he's athletic. So by him taking up more space and being athletic, the combination is very good.
He may only be in 6th grade, but he manages to stay cool and collected in one of the most high-stress positions in all of sports.
You just gotta play it calm and play it by ear, one step by another.
And the same thing goes for his teammates.
We act like brothers usually, call each other brothers sometimes. So we're really close. We're at the rink almost every day with them, so you really have to be good with them and good friends.
While these 11-year-olds compete at an extremely high level, they know it's not always about the win.
You learn from a loss more than a win, so sometimes you prefer a loss so you can get better and come back as a team and regroup and rethink what you did.
Dallin plans to attend high school at Bennett Academy or Shattuck in Minnesota with hopes of a college scholarship or a shot at the NHL. But he knows he has to work hard to make those dreams come true.
You have to earn your spot. You can't have somebody doing it for you. You have to earn it. Earn your ice time.
Reporting for Naperville News 17, I'm Rachel Pearson.
And if you have an idea for a sports story feature, you can let us know at newstips@nctv17.com. Chicago Blackhawk fans know his voice, but now get to know his story. NHL broadcaster and former Blackhawks player Eddie Olczyk stopped by Anderson's bookshop to promote his new biography, Eddie Olczyk, Beating the Odds in Hockey and in Life. In the book, he shares stories from his time on the ice, including play on the 1984 U.S. Olympic hockey team and a 16-year professional career. But he also touches on his personal struggles, specifically his 2017 diagnosis of colon cancer.
That was kind of the reason why I wanted to do the book, was to, if I can help one person in any walk of life, whether they're battling an illness or they're trying to overcome some adversity, or somebody's doubting them, then hey, if that old broken down hockey player can do it, then why can't I?
His battle with the disease changed his way of looking at life and inspired him to share his story to help others struggling with the same diagnosis. And that's what's happening right here in your neighborhood, Naperville. We'll see you next week. Until then, you can catch up on local news by signing up for our NCTV 17 news update, delivered right to your inbox Monday through Friday. Sign-up information is right on our website, nctv17.com.
This week's Naperville News 17 is brought to you in part by the following sponsors. This program is partially funded by a grant from the City of Naperville.